Today, let's look at both ends of the spectrum. So we're going to look at the longest hold you can do in the easiest planche position, and then the longest hold we can do in the most advanced position. And I'm going to make that even harder by going handstand to planche. So for me, the best position I can currently get into is a straddle planche. So I'm going to hold that for as long as I can off the back end of the handstand. And then let's now test my tuck planche, see how long I can get. I'm going to use this timer. Now I am going to press go and then quickly get into the position. So I'm going to have to minus off a couple of seconds, but we can do that at the end, and I'll put the full official time up on the screen. I am using P-bars for both of these. You could obviously do it on the floor. Okay, let's look at the tuck planche. So I think that was 2 seconds. Okay, just shy of 45 seconds. Now, if you are working to more advanced planche positions, I'd highly recommend that you build up to a 30-second tuck planche, or at minimum a really comfortable 20-second hold. That's just going to give you a really strong base. The tuck planche is the easiest position, apart from maybe the planche lean, where you can get into a really good protraction. So protraction is where we push out in the shoulder blades, we round the upper back. This is the opposite, this is retraction, so my shoulder blades have collapsed. My torso's collapsed through my shoulder blades, which means I'm just basically sunken down in that position. What we want is the opposite, so rounding of that upper back pushed away like that. Now that's really going to give you a strong foundation that you can build upon. As you open out to harder positions, realistically you're going to lose some of that protraction. Making sure it's really strong in that tuck position is really important. If you started with collapsed position and then opened out from there, it's just going to build a weaker position and you're more likely to get injured. Now, if you can't tuck planche here for any amount of time, you could do exactly the same thing, but just give yourself one toe assist. So exactly the same, but keep a toe on the floor and then get into your tuck position and hold there for time. And then as soon as you lose that protraction, that's probably the time to come out. So I know that tuck planche is already warmed up, but we now need to warm up handstand balance on the P-bars, because that's what I'm going to do the movement on. So just holding for a bit of time there, moving between under balance. So there the feet come one side, shoulders go the other, and then back again. So this opening, closing of the shoulder, super important if we're going to go through handstand push-ups, presses, and things like that. Now, if you don't have this movement, you can train it closer to the wall, with the easiest version being turning the hands out and then just taking the head towards the wall and back again. Notice I'm taking 1 foot off at a time. You could do it like that, or you could have both heels against the wall. So there, you might feel a little bit of arch in the body. Once the head is comfortable to the wall, you could take shoulders and back to the wall at the same time. Just be careful. See what I done there is I arched my back a little bit as I went, so that's not ideal. You could take all of your back to the wall and back off again. Would be a cleaner version as long as you keep pushed out in a strong position. And then a nice in-between one is not actually going to the wall with all of the body, but just touching the head, but bringing the feet off. And you could do that in a semi-balanced position or a semi-freestanding position. So there, I'm going to balance for a little bit, take the head to the wall, and then I come back, feet might touch, and then go back to head touching. But again, I'm staying strong, just open and closing through the shoulders. Now, ideally, the feet don't touch at all, and you've just got that target of taking the head to the wall. But think the head's going to the wall because the shoulders are moving, not the head by itself. So don't get into the habit of extending the neck. That's not going to work. When we do it fully freestanding, we want to make sure that the shoulders are moving and then the feet are going in the opposite direction. Now, one of the hardest things about lowering from handstand to planche is the difference in the scapula. So we go from this elevated position where I'm pushing up as hard as I can in the handstand, and then as I come down, I don't want to keep pushing like that because it's going to get stuck or it doesn't feel like it's in the right place. I've got to transition to more of that, so pushing. So now I'm protracting and pushing. Here I'm elevating and pushing. Now, I wouldn't overly worry about understanding it. It's more about practice and getting the movement correct. So we want to end up initially in that tuck planche position that we demonstrated in our first long hold. And probably the easiest way to start with is to do it in 2 segments. So you do the handstand, and you lower forwards,
come down into a tuck, and then all the way down to the floor, and then push back up into your tuck planche.
And then as that becomes more familiar, stronger, and just feels more natural, you can then do it with less
contact with the floor at the bottom. So strong elevation push in, then round in as you come down, and then if you need to, little touch until you can do that without.
Now remember, when it comes to the straddle planche, which is the one I'm going to try and come down into, we have different degrees or difficulty levels or progressions of the straddle planche. We have the easiest version, which is high hip, feet in this position, so I've got a really closed hip flexion here. And then the harder version, and you can see because the lever arm's getting longer, I can even feel it on my abs now, is to go to this open hip straddle position like that, which is very close to the full planche. Now that's what we want to be looking at doing, is over time going from more of a closed hip position, taking the legs further away. Sometimes it's a bit easier to go into like a frog position in between, which gives like a nice hip knee position without making the lever arm too long. But let's just see what I can do on my first couple of attempts. So this will be the first straddle planche attempt. Let's just see what I can get on the first go. The timer is obviously going to be slightly off. I'll put a correct one on the screen. So obviously we have a few things to look at there when we video ourselves from the side. Where is the hip in relation to the shoulders? Ideally they'll be roughly on a straight line. I'll be keeping the arms straight. If you look at my right arm, it often bends and it feels like it's straight, but when I watch the video again later, it looks like this position. I've got to really try and force that straight. As long as you're assessing same for same. So if you reassessed in a month's time and they had those same things, so the same hip height, the same angle in the elbow, if I am slightly bending it, it's still going to show a progression, but over time, ideally, straightening the arms will be key. Okay, 2-minute rest. Let's go again. I'm not sure, but I think the first one was slightly longer, but I'll have to check. So another 2-minute rest, and then I'll try again. Okay, third set. Let's have a look. Whole time was probably around the same as the second, but it didn't feel like such a strong position. Definitely felt like I was collapsing a bit in the shoulders. So it'd be really interesting to know where you compare. Like, how does your easiest position compare to your hardest position? So time-wise, are you like 30, 40 seconds like I am, but you're holding full planche? Or are you 15 seconds in tuck planche, but holding a straddle planche? It'll be really interesting to see how they compare. I'm sure some people are just better at a tuck position and not so good at a straight position. Maybe limb length, body height, weight, all affects those things. So it'll be really interesting to know. Stick it down below in the comments. If you have to help with your training, check out my website. I offer online coaching and I have my app. Links are down in the description, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Thanks, guys.